Welcome back, everyone. Sorry for the delay. We are back on the Midwest Fanatic. I am your host, Kyle, and we are back for our Week 9 preview and Week 8 recap. I had a crazy long business trip and work week, so we had a little bit of a delay in getting back to you guys, so I apologize for that, but we have a jam-packed hour for you today. We have, of course, the Chiefs post-game and post-victory report. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Week 9. So, welcome back into the channel. This is, once again, the Midwest Fanatic, and I appreciate you tuning in. Let's get right to it, guys. The Chiefs took care of business in Allegiant Stadium against the division rival Raiders. Can't say I'm surprised that we took care of business there. I don't think we covered the spread due to the late touchdown by the Raiders, but not to worry. Chiefs got the business done. We just keep rolling. This team is just built for this kind of thing. Mahomes is 19-1 against road divisional opponents when we're on the road, and it's just it's not surprising. And we're going to talk about it here, for the first quarter or third of the show here. But the game happened just kind of how all of our games are happening. I mean, this is just kind of a repeatable thing that you see. Our defense gives up an early drive. Mahomes is kind of just makes a couple of third down conversions. Mahomes does a bad interception. Defense kind of makes up for it with that goal line save. They were able to erase that, like they've been erasing mistakes on our offense all year long. And we just had a slow, methodical, grind it out, run it 30 times and bleed you down. This is a defensive football team. They held them to 13 points. That really meant anything. Of course, they scored 20, but they were down 14 with 2 minutes left when they scored it. And they tried an onside kick, and the game was over. But that game was over the second they didn't score off the interception. So let's kind of set the stage and talk about the game from there. Chiefs were up 17-13 with the ball through a bunch of terrible special teams gaffes and holding penalties and bad decisions by the Chiefs. We started 3 consecutive drives from our 8-yard line. Okay, that's never going to happen again. Just terrible luck there. We need to get that ball in middle of the game. Get the ball in the end zone, whether they hit it in the landing zone and it goes into the touchback and take it on the 20, or if they kick it deep and let it go into 30. Do not return these kicks. Do not waste or get the opportunity for a penalty to back us up. We did it like 3 times in a row. When we pair that with a special teams punt coverage, technical foul, personal foul on Williams as well. So we just had a whole bunch of gaffes, and we got backed up a bunch of times. And our guard play is not good. Our tackle play is not good. And Mahomes held the ball a little bit long in the end zone as he's trying to find Worthy, I believe, on the crossing route, and he was open, but our tackle Wanya Morris, got beat. The ball got hit out of his hands, and the interception happened. So it's just something that continues to happen. You think it's something that they can clean up with these interceptions. I think it's 8 or 9 interceptions now by Patrick this year. They got to fix it. They got to be better, but they will. You just have faith that when the chips are really down and it's playoffs and Baltimore's in town, we're just not going to have those plays. I mean, that's how we won it last year. We weren't great last year, all year offensively, and then when we had to be, we were, good enough and mistake-free. So, but yeah, he tipped the ball, terrible interception, and they were set up on the 3-yard line, 17-13. So they are, just a touchdown away a few yards away from taking the lead. And as a lot of teams do when they play the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chiefs forced the 4th and 2, I believe, from the 5, something like that. Maybe it was 4th and goal from the 3. And as teams often do, they don't take the field goal. They could have cut it to 17-16. They could have kept the momentum, could have tightened it up down to the wire. But you know what? We're playing Mahomes. We got to force it. We can't win with 16, 19 points. They go for it on 4th and 3, and it was the worst play of their day. Just got blown up. What we are witnessing here, if you take the Lamar Jackson rushing attack away from week 1, this might be the best rushing defense in the history of the National Football League. I don't know. I mean, we held Alexander Mattison to 1.1 yard a carry. I don't know how much better it can be. I think he had 14 carries for 15 yards, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's not a stat that you ever see, 14 for 15. I mean, in baseball, that would be great, of course, but as a running back, 14 carries for 15 yards I've never heard of anything like that. Might be the best. It is the best run defense in the league. Might be the best, by when we're all said and done here, the best run defense in the history of the NFL. I mean, the running backs are doing absolutely zilch. So then from there, the game was over. I think we went on like a 95-yard drive from there, and we kicked the field goal, go up by 7, then the fumble, and then Minshew was kind of flushed out of the pocket to the left, moved up, and I believe it was Mike Pennell hit him on his left-hand side, his ball carry side. Ball bounced right to Drew Tranquill. We punch it in, and from there it's 27-13, and it's over. So, like I said, gave up a garbage touchdown with 2 minutes left. That really doesn't count. So, Chiefs, did it again, and it's pretty much been the same thing that they've been doing the whole year. Play great defense, score 25 plus more points, try not to turn the ball over, but have our defense, recover from it, and try to take the ball away from the other team. We're undefeated. Patrick Mahomes has terrible stats for a Patrick Mahomes caliber player. We are minus in the turnover differential again, still I should say, and we're rolling right along. So if this offense ever does become explosive, which we're going to talk about here soon, and if it ever becomes a fact where we don't turn the ball over, 1+ times a game, if we can ever start taking care of the ball, it's going to be tough to beat us. So let's talk about the rest of the season here. We are 7-0. We have, 10 more games left. And as of right now, with what's going on in the league, I only think we're going to be not favored in one game remaining. That's going to be at Buffalo, Week 10. That's 3 games from now. We are in Buffalo. We'll probably be, projected to lose by 1.5 points, something like that. Outside of that, we're projected to win every single game. So let's talk about the undefeated chatter that's out there. A lot of people are saying that the Chiefs can go undefeated this year. I just don't see it happening. It's only happened once in history. I think it was the Miami Dolphins. They went 14-0. I believe it was 17-0 after they went on their playoff run, won the Super Bowl. And, of course, you have the Tom Brady and Randy Moss Patriots who went 18-1. Those are the only 2 teams that have gone through the regular season at an undefeated clip. I just don't see it happening. Our offense is not explosive enough and dominant enough. There will be a team out there that gets a bounce, gets a fumble, scoop, and score, because that hasn't happened to us yet. Gets a tip, interception, pick 6, and pull something that the Raiders did last year on Christmas. 17 consecutive wins after winning 8 beforehand. I don't see 25 consecutive wins for this team just because their offense isn't as explosive. If we had this defense with, Tyreek Hill on the team, then you're talking about maybe we can do it. But the reason why it's being talked about in the media so much is that it's because our hardest games are behind us, minus the Buffalo game. If we can get through that Buffalo game at 10-0, I think that's when you can start the conversation. Buffalo is tough right now. They are, as of right now, this second, as we're talking here on Tuesday, it is the biggest threat. They have superseded the Ravens as the biggest threat. The Ravens, of course, lost to the Jameis Winston Browns. We'll touch on that later. That's obviously a nice bonus for the Chiefs. But we already had the tiebreaker over the Ravens, so I think pretty much guarantees that the Ravens cannot catch us. But the Buffalo Bills are now our number 1 threat. So we're putting them at the top of the list. They are number 2 in the AFC. It's Kansas City, it's Buffalo, it's still the Ravens next, and then the Houston Texans, and then followed by a bunch, probably the Steelers. But point being is that we now need to shift our focus from the Ravens being the number 2 seed to probably the Bills being the number 2 seed. Still haven't played anybody. The Bills got lucky again this week. They played the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Yes, they went crazy on offense, scored 30-plus points, but Seattle didn't have DK Metcalf. And you can say, oh, Kyle, well, DK Metcalf doesn't play defense. They still throw 31 points, but if you have DK Metcalf, basically their best player, okay, let's call it what it is. It's not Geno. It's either Kenneth Walker or it's DK Metcalf. If you have DK Metcalf there, ball control. Your defense isn't on the field as much. You have more explosive plays. They got to worry about it. It opens up the run game. It's just a totally different game if you have DK Metcalf out there playing. So Bills got lucky. DK Metcalf hurts his ankle the day, the game before they played Buffalo. So they still really haven't played anybody. You take DK Metcalf off of the roster for the Seattle Seahawks. They're definitely way worse than their record, and they're not really a threat. So Buffalo, I keep saying it, but their schedule's got to get more difficult. They play us. Played the Ravens. They'll play the Texans here at some point this year if they haven't already. But point being is that it's got to toughen up for them. So stay tuned on that. But next 3 games, Monday Night Football against the Buccaneers. We're going to talk about that. I really like where the Chiefs sit with that. And then we play Denver Broncos at home. And then it is that fateful Buffalo game. Winning that game is not, especially if we're 9-0, is not a necessity for anything that we want to achieve in the championship category, of course, but I really feel like if we can win that game, get to 10-0, it is possible that we could go undefeated. So as of right now, the Chiefs have won 13 games in a row. That is a franchise record, everybody. We have never won 13 games in a row as the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, that expands through the playoffs of last year. We will go for a new franchise record of 14 games in a row against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's kind of preview that game right now. I think we are in a fabulous scenario there. We got DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously everybody watched the game, I'm assuming. He wasn't as involved as I thought he would be. Amari Cooper in the Buffalo game, their first Buffalo game, he had 58 yards and a touchdown. D-Hop just had the 29 yards, and he had 3 targets. 2 were good throws and good catches. But the third target was a bad throw by Mahomes. He's wide open. He just lobbed it over him. I don't know how you lob it over that guy. He's pretty big, but he will become more involved. I don't think Andy Reid said we got to rush this to beat the Raiders. Let's just do what we do and sprinkle them in when we can. But what you did see is that he opened up some stuff for maybe Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce has his best game of the year, 90 yards and a touchdown. I think 7 receptions, something like that. I just started him in my weekly fantasy league, so he hit big time for me right there. Made a couple bucks in my weekly fantasy league with that, but I had 4 Chiefs players actually, so it was pretty cool. But point being is that you saw how it opened up the offense. Patrick Mahomes finally got in the touchdown column. He had 2 touchdown passes. I believe it was 262 yards of offense through the air. That's a lot better than 150. I mean, that's a big difference. He had 2 games this year of 150 yards receiving, or passing, which is basically the worst he's had all year, all his whole career. And we need more than that from that caliber of a player who we're paying that much, who we're invested in, yada yada yada. So I think you will see a big bump this week. We have a long week going into Monday, so an extra day. Extra time for DeAndre to learn a couple more plays, maybe get a couple more practice reps for Patrick Mahomes. Look for more like 6 to 7 targets for DeAndre against a banged up and porous Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary. Previewing the Tampa Bay game, we're gonna talk about a week 9 here in just a little bit. Kind of the things that we're going to be talking about and looking for week 9, because this is a combination show. We're recapping as well as looking at week 9, but I think that the Bucs have had better success running the ball this year with Irving and White than most people have been expecting. But like we've talked about, the Chiefs just don't give that up, and so I just don't think with their 3rd, 4th, and 5th receivers, with our run defense, are going to be able to do much. And I think the Chiefs take care of business pretty easily in prime time next week. So. Very, very positive game, obviously, for the Chiefs. Just a quick tidbit: Andy Reid is the winningest coach in Allegiant Stadium. He has 6 wins. I believe Mike McDaniels is number 2 with 6, tied for first with 6 wins as well. The previous coach of the Raiders, I believe Pierce just has Antonio Pierce, who's the current coach of the Raiders, just has 2 home wins in his tenure there for the last 13 games or so, however long he's been the coach there. So simple formula: play defense, erase your bad turnovers, take the ball away. We capitalize on our turnover. They didn't capitalize on theirs. Game over. Now, obviously, it's great to see all the red at Allegiant Stadium. I'm sure home of the Chiefs was screamed at the end of the anthem, and super happy to see the Raiders stay where they are. I believe they are in last place in the AFC West, and they will finish last in the AFC West. Their quarterback play is just atrocious, and the Broncos and the Chargers have a lot more going for them than the Raiders. So, let's kind of shift gears here. Chiefs keep chugging along. We're going to talk about them in the picks section. They are in my picks this week for the spread against the Bucks. There's no doubt about it. I think we cover pretty easily. But let's talk about my picks from last week. We went over, ladies and gentlemen. Not what we wanted to see. We went Bucks over the Ravens with a plus 3.5. We had minus 3.5 for the Minnesota Vikings, and then we had the -7 for the Jets. The one that we should have gotten. Sorry, it wasn't the Ravens game. It was the Packers game. Sorry, we were minus 3.5 for the Packers. I apologize. And so the Packers had them. They were up. And then, of course, Jordan Love got hurt. So that was a negative. A couple of my teams that I've picked the last couple of weeks, and the Bucks and the Packers have had pretty big injuries to Mike Evans and to Jordan Love that have hurt my picks. That's just bad luck. It's going to happen in football. There's nothing really you can do about that. But it's just something that happened. Now, when it comes to the other games, the Minnesota game, that was a bad pick. Simply because Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp came back. If that information would have been, known at the time of the pick, you take that one off the board before kickoff. Puka, obviously, I think he had 18 fantasy points. I think 120, 12 yards receiving, 8-9 catches. He had a great game. And Cooper Kupp had a touchdown. And I think Robinson had a couple touchdowns. But point being is that, the second you see those two big dogs come back, you take the Rams there at home. So that's just bad luck. If they come back the following week, probably the Minnesota Vikings cover that spread on Thursday night. So that was also bad luck. And the Jets are just the Jets. I mean, I thought, this was going to be the final straw for the Jets. This is going to be their coming to Jesus moment where they finally put it all together and beat a team they beat about a month ago. Just obviously didn't watch much of the game. It was a regional game out there in the Northeast, but obviously I saw some highlights and it's just a game that doesn't make sense. I think I saw a stat where they gave up less than 250 yards total offense. They had no turnovers, and they had something else going for them as well, and they still lost. It was like the first time in NFL history that these three metrics have been hit and the team lost. So I think they were up by, I believe, 6 in the third quarter, and then they had a punt, and then they came back where the Patriots kicked a field goal, and then the Jets were stopped again, and then the Patriots went down and won the game down 4 with a touchdown. Drake May gets hurt, concussed, kind of a nasty, weird little hit in the back of his head, and then Jacoby Brissett, who the Jets just smoked the other week, comes out and beats him. Kind of shows you that the home stadium matters, home cooking matters in the NFL, probably more so than any other sport. Needs to be taken into account in these bets and these picks. Home teams, man, they got the crowd behind them, and divisional games are weird. They just are. So only silver lining, I did get my Bucks pick correct. They were only favored they only had -4 against the Joel Embiid-less 76ers, and we were able to get that win. So that brings us to 4-3 on the channel here for picks, and so we'll take it. So I believe actually, it's 4-3, 4-3. So 2-1, 3-0, 0-3, and then the 1. So we're 4-3 doing picks, and so we'll keep it rolling. I got 3 more picks left, and we're above 500, including that NBA pick. So I'm all about it, man. Let's keep it rolling. So moving forward here, let's talk about the teams that are competing against the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC and kind of what happened with them this week. Obviously, it's the Bills, it's the Ravens, and it's the Houston Texans. A lot of stuff going on with those 3 teams. It seems like every week, but this week in particular, touched on the Bills. They beat the DK Metcalf less Seattle Seahawks. That's a bummer. They looked really good. Their defense is playing better. They're not playing very many good teams, but their defense is playing well. You can only play who's on your schedule, right? And their offense has looked fabulous. So I think the addition of Cooper was a big deal. He is opening up Keon Coleman on the opposite side of him, and I think Keon Coleman had a touchdown. Point being is that they are rounding in the form. They got the Megatron to our Kansas City Chiefs Optimus Prime over there with Josh Allen, so they can kind of be on that relatively same wavelength at the quarterback position. It's just going to be if their defense can hold up, and how that offense is going to do against a better secondary. But point being is that the Bills are number one, adversary for the Chiefs right now in the power rankings. And so we need to watch out for them. So moving forward here, the Buffalo Bills, sorry, the Ravens, they lost to Cleveland. This is a huge win for a variety of reasons. All the national media super high on the Ravens, talking about how they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Their offense can't be stopped. They're the team to beat. They lost by a toenail to the Chiefs. Blah, 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 blah. I am not too worried as much as about them anymore. Their defense, their secondary is pretty much the bottom three secondary when it comes up to giving yards against the pass and touchdowns against the pass. They've given up 17 touchdowns in the air this year. I believe is close to the most in the league, if not the most in the league. So they have a concern there, and who can be beat with that. They did make a trade as of this morning. They did trade for Deontay Johnson, another wide receiver. They really weren't struggling at wide receiver. Bateman's been great. Zay Flowers has been great. Likely is great. Matthews is great. I don't know. There's only one ball. They give the ball to Henry a lot. They give the ball to Justice Hill out of the backfield. I don't think that is going to, they lost scoring 27 points last week. I mean, against a really good Browns defense that was reinvigorated by, finally some decent offensive play. Cleveland had the ball a decent amount, so it's not like the Ravens had unlimited possessions like they have against certain, teams. But point being is that I don't think, he hasn't played a snap yet. It happened this morning. But I don't think that addressed the need that they have. Their offense was already great. And there's only one ball to throw with. So we'll see. Kind of just, I wanted Deontay Johnson. I'm excited, that he got out of the Panthers. He's a good player. He's a young player. They might keep him long term. But man, I just, the skill set of Zay Jones is and Rashad Bateman is, I think, similar. They're similar in size and stature. Maybe Deontay's a better route runner, but I just don't see that being a huge difference maker for them. Like, the Bills desperately needed a wide receiver. Okay, they desperately needed it. The Chiefs desperately needed a wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. There were big holes on both of those teams. They didn't have a hole there, so they're just kind of putting it on top. So we'll see how that goes, but I'd rather him go to a different team than the Ravens. Them getting deeper isn't necessarily what we want to see, but if they would have picked up a cornerback or a pass rusher or something like that, I think that would have been a little bit better for him. So, but yeah, nice loss for the Ravens. They are 5-3, and everybody's talking about how great they are, and they're not even first in their division. The Steelers are 6-2, so they still have to play twice this year too. So that'll be the Ravens. They could be a wild card team. The Steelers are playing great. Russell Wilson, now they've beaten the Jets and the Giants, so let's take it with a grain of salt, okay? But he's been playing way better than I ever saw him play out there in Denver. And in Denver, he was let Russ cook and let's ride and all this stuff. And he's been a lot quieter, a lot more humble, just letting the chips fall and just being a steady hand and not being so braggadocious. And, I'm not a huge Russell Wilson fan. Of course, it's easier to root for him when he doesn't play for your division rival. But man, he's been a class act. He let Justin Fields run the show while he was healing up. And he's come back. He's played well. The moon ball to George Pickens is back. The Giants have a pesky defense, and they force a couple problems from them. But, obviously, Daniel Jones and those guys on the other side can't capitalize on anything. And they were able to get a couple wins. I believe the Steelers have a bye week next week, and then we'll see how they continue with Russell Wilson. But the Steelers are probably, they might be superseding the Texans here soon as the third biggest threat to the Chiefs behind the Bills and the Ravens. It might now be the Steelers. Their defense is obviously fabulous, and they have some pieces on offense, and they're not as terrible as maybe we thought they were going to be throughout before this season. And then the Houston Texans, they have, C.J. Stroud and those boys are now officially banged up pretty good. You have their number one receiver, Nico Collins. He's been out for the last couple of weeks with a hamstring injury. He'll be back in a couple of weeks. That being said, of course, the big news out of Houston this week is wide receiver Stephon Diggs, who they traded for in the offseason, probably on a 1 year, make a run type deal. He has a torn ACL, and he is out for the season. So, of course, the Chiefs do play the Houston Texans, and I heard a talking head on one of the main channels talking about this is one of the biggest years for injuries in the history of the NFL. I mean, the amount of stars that are going down in the league right now is really, really sad to see. Chiefs have been devastated. The Ravens have been hurt with injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Same with the Buffalo Bills on the defensive side of the ball. Houston has their two wide receivers down. The Saints are down. Around. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. And yes, injuries are a part of football. I mean, my goodness, it's one of the more physical sports, if not the most physical sport that we currently play in today's mainstream sports. But usually these injuries happen, but they're not like done for a year. It's kind of taken away from it a little bit, and the defenses are gonna they're gonna prosper because of it. So we'll see how it affects the rest of the league. But man, the Houston Texans took a big blow. They're going to be without their top two receivers for the next couple of weeks. Nico Collins coming back in Week 10 is the projection. The Texans are playing the New York Jets at New York next week, and the Jets are actually favored in that game, which is surprising. I can't take the line. Vegas might, in my picks, Vegas might know something that I don't. But, being down their two top receivers, similar to the Bucs, you put the Bucs on that list, their top two receivers are down. And so it's just not something that I can put my finger on as to why that's happening. But yeah, going to follow those teams, obviously, all the way to the end. We can put the Steelers on that list now. I think the Steelers really need to be put on that list of teams to watch and monitor, because as of right now, unless the Browns pull off something crazy, the Steelers and the Ravens, one of those two teams is going to win the division. They'll probably both make the playoffs. But as of right now, the Ravens have one of the hardest remaining schedules in the league. I do believe they play the Browns again. They look pretty good with Jameis Winston. And then they play the Steelers twice. They play the Bengals again, a desperate Bengals team again. Their division is just very, very hard. And of course, they have a division winner schedule. They'll play Houston. So they have some games remaining. 9-8 season, could be on the market on the table for them, and who knows if they can make the playoffs. It's possible. So I think they will make the playoffs. They'll probably be the 5 or the 6 seed. But man, and they could win the division, of course, too, depending on how those games with Pittsburgh's go down. But it is possible that something weird happens and they don't make it. So fingers crossed for that. And then we just got to worry about Buffalo, in my opinion. As of right now, I think Buffalo is the only team that could take the Chiefs down a peg and maybe even beat them in the playoffs. Josh Allen's is so good, and people are saying to kind of make that draft pick worth it and the investment in him worth it up there in Buffalo. Buffalo's been a much maligned franchise like the Chiefs were before Mahomes. He's just got to win one. And Mahomes got 3. We're chasing these dynasties and chasing Tom Brady and doing all this stuff. That's not what the Bills are focused on right now. The Bills are focused on just winning one. And you think with that type of quarterback, they can get one. I'm not rooting for it. I'm not, maybe not necessarily predicting it, But, law of averages, if Josh Allen plays 17 years as, one of the top 5-4 quarterbacks in the league, that they can make, they can go on one run where they win 3 or 4 playoff games, as long as, and maybe the Chiefs are what keeps them out of it. And that's kind of what's been going on, but because we've beaten them 3 times, I believe, in the Josh Allen era. But it's something to watch, because in the next, Josh Allen's he's younger than Mahomes by a year or so. He's got another 10 years left. He's a genetic freak. He's very talented. He's not turning the ball over anymore. They have a defensive head coach. Their defense is always going to be halfway decent. We'll see. I'm not rooting for it. I hope the Chiefs beat him every time. But man, law of averages with that player. Can he get one? And odds are that he will. So, power rankings in the AFC right now: Chiefs, Bills. We'll go Ravens, Steelers, Texans. Texans with that injury is going to be tough. Tough for them to overcome. So picks weren't good. Ravens lost. Houston won, and they beat the Colts. And there's kind of a story coming out of the Colts, area and that team right now. This Richardson kid might not end up panning out. Genetic freak of nature athletically. He has one of the worst completion percentages in the history of the National Football League. At one point in the game against Houston, he was 2 for 14. 2 for 14, throwing the football. And one was a 69-yard touchdown pass. So he's a complete enigma. We have no idea what's going on. But the biggest story coming out of that loss to Houston, it was a close game. The score was like 10 points, but it was close throughout, is apparently through one of the drives, he just took himself out. It wasn't an injury. It wasn't, being woozy or dehydrated. He took himself out because he was tired. A quarterback of a National Football League team on a drive, they had the ball, took himself out of the game simply due to being tired. That is unheard of for a quarterback. Running back gets hit real hard, on a run up the middle. They can tap the helmet and be like, I'm going to come out, a weird tackle on the boundary to a wide receiver, and he kind of tweaks his ankle a bit. He taps his helmet and he's coming out. That's obviously something that happens. But those are being after players getting hit, potentially injured, or they need a breather. He just took himself out due to being tired mid-drive. And you're the quarterback of there's only 32 starting quarterbacks in the world. Many people would kill to have that job. And what are you, not conditioned? You can't. You're a quarterback. You're not being hit every play. You're throwing. You should be throwing the football more than anything. And it doesn't take you a bunch of cardiovascular strength to throw the ball. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but just a really interesting story on how that could happen. And due to that, he was benched. He is officially benched for Week 9. The Colts will be starting Joe Flacco against. I'm not exactly sure who they're playing. Doesn't matter. I believe they're playing like Titans or something like that. But point being is that Joe Flacco is going to start for them. And I am high on a couple of receivers now. He's just better for a PPR type of fantasy receiver. So if you have any Colts players, that's actually a good thing. I'm gonna try to start Josh Downs. I have an injury to Godwin, so I think Josh Downs, he's projected like 13 points, and Joe Flacco coming in is gonna, it seems like he throws him a lot of targets, so we're gonna try to ride that train. But yeah, very interesting news going on with the Colts. They're 4-4. They're right in the mix, and their quarterback's tapping out. That's just bizarre to me. So moving on here, let's take a look at my notes. We can kind of start doing a preview and shifting gears to Week 9. A couple touches on previous sports action before we go to Week 9 is that the World Series is going to be wrapped up tonight. The Yankees, in my opinion, are going to be swept tonight. They didn't play very hard teams to get to the World Series. The Guardians and the Royals were kind of underdog stories this year. People picked the Twins to win that division. Payroll wise, are obviously way behind the 8 ball. Obviously we were rooting for the Royals. We thought the Royals had a chance in that series, but the Dodgers are on a different level, people. I mean, they have so much star power throughout the lineup. I mean, it's just, Muncy, he's relatively famous DH. He bats eighth for them. Shohei Ohtani, he bats first for them. They have Ohtani and Betts and Freeman. There's just too much, and their pitching is good enough. And obviously Aaron Judge is continuing his postseason lulls. Obviously not a huge fan of either team. I don't mind Shohei Ohtani. He's obviously super fun to watch, and the Yankees got 27 championships, so they don't need another one. So let's have the Dodgers just wrap up that series tonight, and have the Yankees exit on a sweep. That's about the best possible scenario that we can ask for. And now, shifting gears to my Milwaukee Bucks. They started out with that win. We got the pick right. I believe actually I'm 3-4 in picks. We were 2-1, 0-3, and then 1-0 in the NBA pick. But point being is that they are now 1-3. They lost to the Bulls, the Nets, and the Celtics. Not good. Kind of just thinking about what on earth could be possibly going on. Not as learned on the NBA as I am the NFL. Obviously, I don't watch it quite as much, especially during the NBA the NFL season. But I think the trade that getting rid of Drew Holiday has really hurt this team. They won the championship a few years back without Damian Lillard, obviously, and they had Drew Holiday and a younger, healthier Middleton with some other pieces, obviously, and Drew Holiday's defense is just I don't think it's replicatable. You can't replicate it with anybody in any type of scheme, and obviously the drop off defensively from Drew Holiday to Damian Lillard is substantial, and the kicker on that is that he went to the Celtics. If he goes to the Pistons, who cares? But you just got way worse defensively, and your best defensive player went to your biggest threat in the conference. It's early in the season. They can get on a roll. We'll see. Dame's great. He can shoot the ball. He scored 30 in the first game, but they're 1-3 now. They got to be, as of right now, taken off the top contender shelf until they can kind of figure some stuff out. They've had a lot of road games. I think they have 3 road games and 1 home game. But they lost to the Bulls at home. The Bulls dropped 133 points in Milwaukee. That is not good. And so we'll just cross our fingers that Dame and those boys can put it together, especially on the defensive end. It's not good. I knew the start of the season was hard. If you looked at a couple videos previously, the start of the season was going to be hard with the 76ers and the Celtics. And apparently the Bulls and the Nets are good too. So we'll keep you updated on how they're doing, see if they can get back in the mix and get back on the winning track. Long season, 82-game season, but man, you got throwing a bone there week 1 at 76ers. Looked great. Embiid and George didn't play. Won by 16 or something like that, and then have gotten their doors blown off the last couple of weeks. So we want to see that improve. So let's shift gears and finally jump into the Week 9 preview. A lot of good action. Obviously, the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. They're going to be a part of my picks here soon. But before we get into the picks, let's kind of talk about games that I did not pick that I still think are interesting. We have the Jets are hosting the Texans. They are favored. Somehow the Jets are favored, and they've lost 5 games in a row. Okay, and they're favored against a 6-2 team. I don't know. I would normally bet that, but it's got to be due to the Stephon Diggs injury and the Nico Collins not playing, that they're just decimated. But the Jets don't play the run defense that well. Maybe they load up on it, but Joe Mixon has been playing well. C.J. Stroud is good. Tank Dell is good. If you got Tank Dell in fantasy, you're looking awesome right now. So he's going to be easily your wide receiver too. But Texans getting points against the Jets, and it's in New York. I get it, man, but there's just something fishy going on with that line. I want to stay away from it, but I get it if you're tempted. If you want to take the Texans, a 6-2 team plus 2.5 against a 2-6 team, that's just mind-boggling. So that's just an interesting game due to the line, due to the injury of Stephon Diggs, due to what's going on with the Jets and how much they've underachieved this year. Keep an eye out for Texans at Jets. And then, of course, divisional football is always fun. We're going to be following the Bills all year. I think, as I've talked about 4 times, they are our biggest threat as of this moment. They are hosting the Miami Dolphins. Tua, of course, lost a barn burner to the Arizona Cardinals on a last-second field goal or a last-second touchdown drive. One of the two, they won it at the buzzer, I believe, on a field goal. And so they're going to look to bounce back to a second game back. He should be a little bit more in rhythm. But, of course, he got his concussion against the Bills and Damar Hamlin the last time he played the Bills. So that'll be an interesting narrative. It's in Buffalo. Obviously, the Bills are decently favored. I think it's 4.5, maybe 5. But we'll see. Hopefully the Dolphins can save their season, right the ship, hand the Buffalo Bills a loss. Tyreek Hill can get loose in their secondary and see what they can come up with. So that's a very interesting game. Divisional games are always crazy. The teams know each other so well. Dolphins at Bills. And then I think the best overall game of the week, not betting it, just going to enjoy it. It's Lions at Packers. Guys, we talk about this NFC North division. It's jam-packed, and we're going to, haven't even talked about the Hail Mary from the Washington Commanders. That was an unbelievable play, but that division, top to bottom, is the best division in football. These are the top 2 threats in that division. The Washington Commanders aren't in that division. I take that back. But point being is that those 4 teams, including the Minnesota Vikings, 3 teams, including the Minnesota Vikings, they're all really capable. They can all make the playoffs. But I'm telling you, the Packers and the Lions can both make the Super Bowl. Lions, of course, my pick on the Lions every week just looks better and better and better. They lose Aiden Hutchinson. They drop 55 points. I mean, they are just an absolute machine. They played the Vikings, who gave them a real close game. And obviously the Texans are just, the Titans. They played the Titans last week, and the Titans, have no business even, being in the same arena as that team. So the Lions are an absolute juggernaut right now, and they're playing in Lambeau against the Packers. Now, we'll see if Jordan Love can get back, but this Willis kid has been playing good. I mean, they're running the football with Jacobs like a machine. He can run it too. Willis can. He's a good athlete that way. If you keep his amount of pass attempts down, he can be efficient in a small sample size. Go throw 11 for 16 for 200 yards, a touchdown. Hammer the ball with Josh Jacobs and play good defense. They have a decent defense over there. They're at home. See if they can hold the Lions to under 25 and beat them 27-25, something like that. So we'll see what's going on with Jordan Love. Also not a game you want to bet with all the injuries and obviously the Lions being as good as they are, but the Lions still have a liability defensively with Aiden going down. Their defensive secondary can be had. But still, just an unbelievable game there between the Lions and the Packers. Obviously, I'm sure the Lions are favored by a couple points on the road. Okay, let's get back in the win column with our picks this week. Last week, I got some I had 4 really bad ones in a row. The Monday Nighter, Tampa Bay, they were gangbusters. Evans gets hurt. Yeah, the Packers, injury to Jordan Love. The Minnesota game, Cooper and Puka Nacua came back. That was terrible. And then I'm done betting Jets. The Jets are just a travesty, and they can't be trusted against the worst team in the league is the Patriots. Okay, and they lost. It's just some really bad luck there. We're done betting those guys. But excited about our picks this week. Taking some home favorites, I believe. Taking some favorites this week instead of trying to chase points. So we're gonna give up some points this week, and let's get into it. Kyle's 3 picks of the week are gonna be Browns plus 1.5 at home against the Los Angeles Chargers. Guys, the Los Angeles Chargers are just an okay team. They're okay. Their defense is okay. Maybe above average with Nick Bosa, and they have some decent, Derwin James. They have some decent players. But their offense is not good. They do not have an explosive offense. They don't have anybody to throw it to. Ladd McConkey and Josh Palmer are not going to win you a Super Bowl, okay? The Cleveland Browns defense is officially back. If they're not on the field for 42 minutes, they're good. I mean, you can't go have 7 3-and-outs and play good defense. It's just not possible. Jameis Winston, He looked fabulous last week, slinging the ball all over the place. He got lucky on a dropped interception and then beat him the very next play. Just a good story. He's not playing behind a player in Deshaun Watson. He's playing behind a contract. They just like there's another guy that got hurt that had this giant contract that you got to play him. But once you sign a guy like that to a contract like that, you look like idiots. I don't care how bad he's playing. If he's riding the bench, a $60 million a year backup quarterback. I mean, it doesn't matter how bad he's playing. He's going to play for that kind of money. The best thing that happened to the Cleveland Browns in a very long time, I hate to say it, was that Deshaun Watson, tearing his Achilles. He wasn't there mentally. All the off the field stuff's got him distracted. I'm not sure what happened between now and when he was back in Houston when he was playing well, throwing to DeAndre Hopkins and those guys. But I think the Browns plus 1.5 at home, they win by a field goal. You win the game, but you win your bet by 4.5 points. I think their offense is now officially explosive with Njoku. Tillman came out. Chubb is playing. I think Jameis Winston gets it done at home against the Chargers, keeps them rolling. They got those boys in Cleveland are following Jameis now, and you beat the Ravens, at home. You can beat the Chargers at home, and they're getting points. I mean, I think that's a no-brainer. And then the Commanders, didn't talk about the Hail Mary with that. There's a big story with that. Maybe we can wrap the show up with that, but the Commanders are playing the Giants. Giants are terrible. They showed it again on Monday night. Giants are coming off a short week, and you only got to cover 3.5 points. Beat them by a couple of field goals, field goal safety, or just blow them out. Jaden Daniels is going to win Rookie of the Year, especially after that Hail Mary. They are 6-2. They are number one team in their division in the the NFC East, sorry. And, the Cowboys and the Eagles are chasing them. But point being is that Jaden's going to win Rookie of the Year, and they're going to blow out the New York Giants. The Steelers should have. They had a weird turnover called out on Pickens. That should have been a touchdown. So Commanders minus 3.5 at Giants. That's an easy one. And then this is kind of maybe a stretch. This is more points than maybe I would recommend. But we're going to take the Chiefs this week. We're going to take the Chiefs. We're laying 8.5 points. That's a lot of points to lay. But there's a reason why they're favored by 8.5 points. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be more integrated into the system. Obviously, the Buccaneers have a terrible pass defense. They obviously are decimated at the wide receiver position in Godwin and Evans. I mean, if Godwin and Evans were playing, this would be a 3-point game, 2.5-point game. I mean, their offense, I think they scored 50 on the Saints with those guys. I mean, they have those two players, but without those two players, I don't think they're going to be able to do much. They have been running the ball well with Irving and White, especially Irving apparently. But point being is that I don't think that they can overcome that. We have the best rush defense in the league. We're going to throw an extra half guy in the box, make sure that's done, go after Baker and beat these guys. I think we beat him 27-17. Honestly, we might even score 30 on maybe more like 31-21. They get maybe a garbage touchdown to even get to 21. They hung kind of in there with Atlanta last week, so that's a little bit concerning. But Atlanta's not the Chiefs. It's not Arrowhead Stadium. It's not Monday Night Football. The Chiefs are due for a blowout. I mean, people say, you were up by 16 against the 49ers in the fourth quarter and you didn't blow them out. But, we're due for a true blowout. And I think we beat them by 10 at least and get the cover. So we have Browns plus 1.5 against the Chargers. Commanders minus a 3.5 against the Giants on the road. Chiefs at home minus 8.5 against the wide receiverless Buccaneers. So that's what we got for you this week. Some more things coming up would be some Thursday Night Football action. I'm going to try to get on for that and just kind of talk through the second half of that. That game ends up being good. And then we are going to try to get some video games going on the channel as well, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, kind of got through it pretty quick. We can kind of just touch base on the Chiefs here for the last few moments. I think there's 3 teams that can beat the Chiefs as of right right now, the Bills, the Broncos, and maybe the Steelers. I don't think the Chargers can beat us. We've already beaten them once. They come into Arrowhead, late in the year. I don't see them coming into Arrowhead and beating us with that offense. They're just not explosive enough. The Steelers have the defense to shut anybody down, similar to the Chiefs, so they got a crack at us. We're playing them on Christmas night. And then, of course, the Buffalo Bills. But if we can get to 10-0, then the conversation will officially begin. Could you imagine a 17-0 regular season, 20-0 full season, dynasty, three-peat on a 20-0 season, winning, 26 consecutive games? I mean, that's what's on the line. It's theoretically possible. People are talking about it. If we can beat the Buffalo Bills, we'll be 10 games away from that. And that's tangible. That's reachable. You can smell that. That's something that you can forecast. Because we play the Raiders again, we play the Panthers, we play the Browns, who have been showing some improvement, but they're beatable, of course. We're going to play the Chargers again. The Steelers have been looking better, but who knows if they catch an injury or something, T.J. Watt goes down or something, we're going to beat those guys. I mean, it is theoretically possible with the defense that we are playing that we can get that done. So don't think about it even for a second. I think I heard a guy on the radio talk about how it's like trying to count down to a perfect game in the fourth inning. Okay, it's the fourth inning. Odds are somebody's going to get a hit in the next 4 innings. I don't care if he's got an immaculate inning in the third. It's only the fourth inning. Maybe, yes, the fourth inning of the year. We're pitching a perfect game, but odds are somebody's going to get a hit. Odds are it's going to be Buffalo. I still think we're a better team than Buffalo. Our defense is better. Our quarterback is better. Our coaching is better. Our scheme is better. Our top, outside of the quarterback position, our number one skill position player in Kelsey and probably Hopkins and Worthy. Those three combinations are probably better than Cooper, Shakir, and Coleman. But you have Cook there too, so they got some boys, man. We'll see. That's going to be a barn burner. They should flex that into prime time if it's not already flexed. So like and subscribe to the channel. We're going to be getting into some TikTok stuff and some social media stuff and trying to spread the word a little bit more. Thanks to everybody who subscribed, friends and family. Like I said, we're going to try to get it more percolating and circulating as we get going, but we'll call it here at just over 50 minutes on the video. But I appreciate everybody who's tuning in. Go Chiefs. I'm going to touch base with you one more time this week before the Monday Night Football game against Kansas City. Maybe we even do some live stuff on Monday. Just kind of feeling my way through the channel here as we kind of off the top of it kind of picked a bunch of things that were kind of going to be a little bit time consuming to do. Obviously we still got the 9 to 5 and some other things we're doing, so but hopefully this has been informative and you guys enjoyed the content here today. We will talk to you here very soon. Stay awesome, and we'll see you next time on the Midwest Fanatic. It's your boy Kyle signing off.